The Carbon Cycle by Adrian, Caleb, Elizabeth, and Sydney. So first off, what is carbon? Carbon is the sixth element on the periodic table. From plants to animals, from humans to bacteria, all life on Earth is thanks to carbon. Now there's 6 main processes that occur in the carbon cycle: photosynthesis, respiration, exchange, sedimentation and burial, extraction, and combustion. But let's start with photosynthesis.
Photosynthesis is the process by which plants and algae convert carbon dioxide, water, and sun into glucose and oxygen. Some carbon is returned to the atmosphere through the respiration of organisms. After organisms die, decomposers break down and recycle the dead material, which returns the CO2 into the atmosphere. A large amount of carbon is exchanged between the ocean and the atmosphere. The ocean diffuses but also releases a large amount of CO2. Some of the carbon that is absorbed into the water is used for photosynthesis by algae. The next step in the pathway of carbon is sedimentation and burial. Over a long period of time, some carbon is converted into calcium carbonate, which is later turned into limestone. This is the slow part of the carbon cycle. Fossil fuels also come from the sedimentation and burial of carbon. Fossil fuels are carbon-based life forms, which become fossilized over a period of millions of years.
The fifth part of the carbon cycle is the extraction of fossil fuels. The extraction of fossil fuels is only conducted by humans and has only started recently. The individual act of extracting fossil fuels is not incredibly detrimental to the carbon cycle on its own, but it greatly influences the next part of the carbon cycle. Combustion is the last stage of the carbon cycle where carbon is broken apart by humans. This step is not a naturally occurring process, but man-made. Humans extract fossil fuels and release the carbon back into the atmosphere. In excess, combustion is detrimental to our world, causing climate change and destroying habitats. Before the Industrial Revolution, the amount of carbon in the atmosphere was relatively constant for 10,000 years. Now that humans rely on coal, oil, and natural gas for energy sources, the combustion of extracted carbon releases CO2 into the atmosphere faster than it can be buried again. Humans also alter the carbon cycle by releasing the carbon stored in the wood when burning and cutting down trees. The trees then cannot absorb the carbon fast enough to create a balance unless enough trees are planted to capture the released carbon. The extra CO2 in the atmosphere then causes climate change by increasing the retention of the heat energy in the biosphere.
Carbon's organic reservoirs consist of marine deposits and fossil fuels in the lithosphere, the ocean carbon store, which is the largest of all, the biosphere carbon store, consisting of all life forms, and the atmosphere carbon store. The inorganic reservoirs of carbon include the gases in the atmosphere released by fossil fuels by humans.